Okay, so welcome back, folks, to the Wanneroo channel. So we did a video probably, I don't know, it's probably 5 or 6 months ago on the Lee app press. It's actually one of the most viewed videos on my channel. So, you know, it's kind of funny when you do YouTube. You have no idea, like, what people are going to watch or this or that. So, so that was interesting. It ended up being a very popular video. So clearly there's some demand about this press and all that. So I plan on doing some more videos with it. To me, the press is an essential part of my kit. So as I talked about in the previous video, it's kind of a brilliant press, but it can be a little bit of a pain in the butt in some ways. So this is my first time using the swaging with it. Previously, I've used the RCBS swaging tool on a single stage press, which of course you can only do, you know, one at a time with it. And I've also seen some other tools where you can put the piece of brass on like a little rod and, you know, fold it into the tool and basically do it that way. So, you know, that's all good and everything, but I guess with the Lee app, the advantage is that, you know, you can get your case heater going and hopefully kind of really bang these out one after another. So today I've got it set up for 9mm, and people are probably going, well, what the hell we want to swage primer pockets on 9mm for? Well, there's two reasons to that, and the first one of which is that if you've ever used European primers before, and I did a little bit of research on this, and forgive me, it's been probably at least a year now or so, but there are slight dimensional differences with European small pistol primers and compared to American small pistol primers. The American ones are actually just slightly smaller. And so back, if you remember, during the previous ammo panic and hysteria that went on from 2013 to about 2015, you know, supplies disappeared off the shelves and all that sort of thing, and, you know, everything just kind of went poof, gone. And so Cabela's at the time, they had hooked up with Cellular and Below, and, you know, primers were short on the ground. So, you know, they brought in huge quantities of these. And so I even had some 20% off coupons, plus they were running sales on them for $19.99. So when you can buy 1,000 primers for $16, hey, I'm in. So I got plenty of those. The other thing is, with those dimensional differences that I ran into on the Hornady Progressive Press, is that trying to get the primers seated and stuff, it was just kind of a big pain in the butt. You know, CCI primers, boom, 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 you know, almost never have any issue with thousands and thousands of cases going through there and all that sort of thing. So, no, you know, and so the S&B primers were giving me some issues. So that was one thing. The other thing too is, with a lot of the 9mm brass that I'm running, years ago, I was buying a lot of the NATO spec 9mm. Well, what does that have? Well, it has crimp primer pockets on it. So if you don't swage the primer pockets on it when you go to reload it, then you're just gonna, you know, again, run into issues with not being able to seat primers or, you know, stuff like that. So anyways, I've got like thousands of pieces of 9mm brass. Most of it is nickel, some nickel case stuff that I bought on the secondary market. Then I have a lot of my own 9mm brass from all sorts of different backgrounds. Then, taking into account, we've got these S&B primers that we want to use up and get those, you know, used. So it's a thing of like, I want to go through and uniform and swage all these 9mm pockets, so we're not going to have any issues when we get to the Progressive press to actually seat these babies. Okay. Now, with the swaging to set this up, I would say in total, the process I went through to get the whole Lee kit up. Now, you know, also too, you have to take into account that, you know, I'd never used it before, whatever. With Lee, as usual, you know, they're pretty good about instructions and all that sort of thing. So, you know, basically had to go through and just kind of work through the instructions little bit by little bit, get it all figured out. Like I said, the instructions are good, but when you're doing it for the first time, you're kind of sitting there going, okay, you know, am I getting this done right or whatever? So then the other thing, as I mentioned in the previous Lee app video, probably the one thing on this press where, you know, you can have some issues is basically a lot of these little plastic pieces here, and essentially getting your case feeder set up at the right height and all this. I find a lot of times this little plastic piece here kind of easily pops off sometimes, and you'll get jams, you know, stuff like that. So when it runs good, it's awesome, but then sometimes it decides it wants to be a pain in the butt, and you start running into issues. Or, you know, I find, especially with this riser, for whatever reason, it likes to pop off sometimes. So trying to kind of get all this dialed in when you have all these different plastic pieces and stuff like that, and this whole thing with these wing nuts and all that. Well, you know, it's just one of those things where basically, you know, we're, you know, trying to get this set up right where everything's going to run good. So basically, in total, I spent about 2 hours getting all this, you know, set up right, getting the swaging stuff set up right and all that. The other thing too is we have to kind of, once we get all this kind of in place, then we have to get this swaging rod in here. So you have to kind of go up here and kind of tweak this to essentially get it working. And what you're kind of looking for, my understanding is basically whenever you have your piece of brass in there, that whenever you go down with the handle, that it's going to cam over just a little bit, and that should properly swage it. So after, again, doing a little fiddle farting and kind of deciding where I wanted to be with that, I think I kind of have it down to, you know, where it should be working good, and we should be swaging properly and all that, and should not have any issues. So there's also a spring in here, basically, that whenever you go down on the press and with the brass, essentially it kind of goes down into the press against that spring, and then the swaging tool comes up and essentially swages it. So you know, should have it dialed in good, and it should be working okay. So let's go ahead, we'll do a couple, and let's make sure everything is looking good here. It looks fine. So we'll go ahead and get started. And a little bit difficult with the kind of camera and stuff in the way, but just kind of make do with it. And then again, it kind of just cams over right here. Let's see. Let me kind of move the camera around a little bit here. So yeah, it should be good. So yeah, you just want to cam over slightly, and it should be good to go. And I looked at some of the brass that I swaged. It looks like it's been swaged. You can just see a slight little bit of smoothness there in the primer pocket mouth, so it should be good. So what I might do is get some of these done and then clean them and get a batch that's kind of nice and clean, and then after that just do kind of a test fire with it in terms of going ahead and priming some of them just to make sure that, hey, everything's working good and no problems. And we have this one other piece of brass here, the last one, a little bit hung up there. Okay, so that's basically a run with that. So yeah, it seems to work pretty good, again, with the Lee app. I think a lot of it is, and you know, you run into this with progressive presses too, is basically getting everything dialed in, getting everything set up, and then pretty much as long as you have that all set up good and all that, then everything should run smoothly. So we have probably 4,000 to 5,000 pieces of 9mm I'm going to run through here. And probably what's going to happen, and this is the way I do a lot of things, is I kind of do one task at a time. So eventually over the next month or two, what I'll do is I'll get my progressive set up over there with all the 9mm stuff. Then over here, like I might do a batch of like 500 to 1,000, you know, and this will be set up here for quite some time. Could be the next month, 2 months, 3 months, I don't know, you know, depends on how much time I have. And then sometimes what I'll do is I'll fill these tubes up and leave them filled sometimes, and then when I'm here in the barn or whatever and I'm doing different projects, I'll just come up and knock out a couple tubes of them and refill them and then go off and do something else. And then once I get a bucket down here, you know, filled up with, like I said, 500 to 1,000, I'll run them through, I'll clean them good, and then get them set up for, you know, running them through the progressive and doing it that way. Because, you know, for 5,000 pieces, yeah, it's going to take a while to do it. So I just kind of do it in batches. And so, hey, if I knock out 100 or 200 a day, that's kind of what I aim for with it, you know. So with 9mm, you know, if people want to see videos on doing 9s, you know, I sometimes load, you know, well over 10,000 of those a year. One thing I got recently was some CFE pistol. I've never used that before. I also have a load that I do with power pistol for kind of blowback operated pistol, large pistols like CZ Scorpions, Uzi, the Uzi, stuff like that. The Suomi I have, which isn't a pistol but a rifle. So I do kind of a hot load, and then you know, I do some like target loads with tight group and different things. I also got a ton of Spear TMJ bullets that are 147 grains, so I need to work up a load for those. So probably through the winter, I'll probably be doing some different batches of 9mm. So, you know, if people want to see that, then you know, definitely I can do some stuff on that. And you know, 9mm, there's so many different things you can do with it. So you know, I could easily do a batch of 1,000 for this, 1,000 for that, and you know, stuff like that. So again, if people want to see it, then you know, maybe we'll do some videos on that. So anyways, so I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask. Again, we have so many different projects that I'm working on, and it's summertime, and plus we're doing a lot of stuff on the property as well. So you're going to see a wide variety of videos. So you know, if it's something that doesn't interest you, you know, hey, cool, skip it, go to the next one, whatever. You know, just expect that there is going to be a wide variety of stuff coming. So some may interest you, some might not, you know, you never know, or something might pique your interest, you know. So expect a lot of variety on this channel. We're just not going to get kind of stuck in a rut doing the same exact thing all the time. So, all right, thanks y'all. Have a good one.